The Xylos Dominion stood as a monument to sensory superiority, a civilization that had mastered perception itself. Their existence was woven from the threads of pure light and sound. Every Xylos being, a marvel of bioengineered precision, possessed an array of hypervisual sensors capable of seeing across the electromagnetic spectrum, from the faint glow of infrared to the harsh brilliance of gamma waves. Their sonic receptors could pinpoint a molecule's vibration from kilometers away, mapping environments with intricate echolocation and hypersound scans. But in this symphony of sight and sound, one sense was conspicuously absent, deemed primitive and irrelevant: smell. For the Xylos, atmospheric particles were just that random, meaningless data. They were the ultimate hunters, confident in their ability to perceive every threat, every quarry, with perfect clarity. At the very heart of the Xylos Dominion's vast surveillance network stood High Arbiter Zephyr. His crystalline form shimmered, absorbing streams of visual and sonic data from 1,000 distant worlds. Zephyr prided himself on the unblemished perfection of Xylos perception, his commands relayed through vast optical fiber networks with flawless speed. He embodied the Xylos conviction that what could not be seen or heard simply did not exist, or at least did not matter. Beside him, Tracker Unit Gamma 9 projected intricate 3D sonic maps of distant terrains. Gamma-9's multiple articulated limbs deftly manipulated holographic displays, tracing heat signatures, plotting sound propagation, and predicting prey movements. Its sophisticated algorithms accounted for every ripple in the air, every shadow cast by light. It was the epitome of Xylos hunting prowess. And then there was bioanalyst Kalfa, a Xylos researcher who devoted his existence to understanding the myriad forms of life across the galaxy through their observable energy signatures. Kale was a purist of data, and any anomaly that didn't fit neatly into his visual or sonic models was a frustrating, yet often dismissible, imperfection. Their initial surveys of a newly discovered species, humans, had already provided the Xylos Dominion with profoundly confusing data. Human technology, though rapidly advancing, seemed, to the Xylos, unsophisticated compared to their own. Their vessels were clunky, their weapons loud and inefficient, yet their biological readouts included references to a primitive chemosensory organ they called a nose, capable of detecting odors. The Xylos dismissed it as a vestigial sense, a relic from an earlier, less evolved stage. High Arbiter Zephyr, Gamma-9's voice, a series of precise high-frequency clicks, resonated through the command chamber. Our long-range reconnaissance patrols detected an unusual loss of a scout vessel Delta IV on the forested world of XYLOS-37. All visual and sonic transmissions ceased abruptly. No distress signal was sent. Zephyr's crystalline form shifted, a faint ripple indicating heightened processing. A silent loss? Unacceptable. Did our scans detect any indigenous apex predators? Or hostile orbital crafts? Negative, Arbiter. Gamma-9 projected the last known telemetry. Atmospheric scans showed no large energy signatures. Terrain analysis indicates dense, temperate foliage. The scout vessel simply vanished. Our thermal and sonic scans of the area yield no trace of the vessel, no residual heat, no sonic echoes from its wreckage. It's as if it was absorbed by the very ground. Bioanalyst Kale added, his voice a low hum. My analysis of the local fauna suggests no creature capable of such a precise, silent takedown. All dominant species are large, visually distinct, and generate significant sonic output. This incident defies known ecological parameters. A week later, more troubling data emerged. A ground patrol sent to investigate the missing vessel also vanished. And then, the Xylos began to receive cryptic, intermittent data bursts from the planet's surface, fragmented audio files of what appeared to be human voices, speaking in hushed tones, followed by strange, almost reverent whispers. These whispers hinted at a chilling truth. They described how the humans had indeed traced the missing Xylos units. But not by sight. Not by sound. This is impossible. Tracker Unit Gamma-9's data stream pulsed with rare frustration. They claim to have located our units by tracking vapor trails or disturbed atmospheric particles. They call it scent or spore. But there is no visual disturbance, no sonic signature. Our systems detect nothing. Its intricate holographic maps showed no discernible pathways, no tracks, no aural echoes, where the humans claimed to have found the Xylos units. Bioanalyst Kale, for the first time, felt a tremor of true bewilderment. But without a visual or sonic trail, how could they possibly locate them? It defies our understanding of physical laws. These odors they describe, they are merely random atmospheric particles, without consistent energy or vibrational patterns. How could they be read? His Xylos brain struggled to reconcile this concept, a sense that could see invisible particles. It was unscientific, bordering on metaphysical. High Arbiter Zephyr remained silent, his form unmoving, but the sheer volume of data being routed through his core processors indicated a crisis. The humans were not only capable of silent takedowns, but they could also track without any perceivable sensory input. To the Xylos Dominion, whose entire civilization was built on the supremacy of sight and sound, this was more than just a military threat. It was a fundamental affront to their very understanding of reality. These humans were operating in a sensory dimension the Xylos couldn't even detect, let alone comprehend. They were unseen hunters, and the Xylos were utterly blind to their methods. The perfect predators now found themselves prey to a silent, undetectable pursuit. The Unseen Hunter's Call, Part 2. The Whisper of the Air. While the Xylos Dominion grappled with the incomprehensible vanishing act on HFY 37, humanity had its own specialists for operations that required a touch more primal instinct. They were the Ghost Trackers, an elite reconnaissance and recovery unit. Their methods were as old as humanity itself, honed not by advanced sensors, but by an intimate connection to the natural world. Leading this unit was Captain Elias Pathfinder Thorne. Thorne was a man of the wilderness, his movements fluid and silent, his knowledge of spore and environmental cues encyclopedic. He understood that a hunt wasn't just about what you could see or hear. It was about what you could feel and, more importantly, smell. His second in command was Sergeant Anya Whisper Khan, a master of subtle observation. Khan could read a broken twig or a disturbed patch of moss like a detailed map, understanding the story of every fleeting presence. But the true enigma of the team, even to other humans, was specialist Aris Nose Jenkins. Jenkins possessed a preternaturally acute sense of smell, so sensitive it bordered on the supernatural. For Nose, the world wasn't just colors and sounds, it was an intricate tapestry of odors, a living, breathing landscape of chemical signatures. To him, every creature, every machine, left a unique aromatic fingerprint on the air, a story waiting to be sniffed out. Their current mission was dire. Human intelligence had confirmed the Kree Collective, a notoriously brutal species, had established a clandestine research outpost deep within a dense forest biome on a neutral planet. Worse, they had captured several human scientists. Echo Company's task was to infiltrate the outpost, recover the prisoners, and extract vital intelligence. The complication: the Kruber outpost was being protected by Xylos security forces, now paranoid after their baffling encounters on HFY 37. "All right, Ghost Trackers." Captain Thorne's voice was a low growl, barely audible above the hum of their stealth dropship. "Intel confirms the Kreller outpost is located within a Class 4 forest, heavily guarded by Xylos patrols. They'll be relying on their hypervisual and sonic scans. Anya, Aris, this is your show. No loud noises, no bright lights. We're shadows here. Any last thoughts?" Sergeant Khan nodded, adjusting her comms. "Just remember, if you think you see something moving, it's probably just a leaf. If you don't see it, but feel a tickle in your nose, it's Aris." Specialist Jenkins, his head tilted slightly, sniffing the air even inside the sealed dropship, chuckled. "Don't mind me, just pre-sniffing the local ecosystem. I'm getting hints of desperation, a touch of stale Krillo rations, and a faint metallic tang. Oh, and a surprising amount of burnt toast. Someone at the Xylos's mess hall needs lessons. The drop was executed flawlessly. Ghost trackers landed silently amidst the towering alien trees, their camo suits blending seamlessly with the alien foliage. The Xylos, for all their technological prowess, were blind to the most ancient form of tracking. Xylos patrol drones, like Tracker Unit Gamma 9, glided through the forest canopy, their sonic pings mapping every leaf, every branch, their thermal sensors seeking heat signatures. Xylos ground units moved with synchronized precision, their visual arrays sweeping the terrain. They were confident no one could penetrate their perfect detection grid. But Thorne's team didn't rely on sight or sound. As they advanced, Thorne pointed to a barely disturbed patch of moss. "Krull, a scout, heavy foot. Passed this way an hour ago, maybe less." "Not running?" Khan knelt, her fingers brushing the moss. "Agreed, and the dew hasn't fully evaporated from where his boot pressed. Fresh." Then, it was Jenkins' turn. He closed his eyes, his nose twitching slightly, inhaling deeply. "Captain, the Krellers' Fear Sweat Trail is strong to the west. Their recent patrol passed that way, and there's a fainter, metallic, almost sterile scent mixing with it. That's the Xylos patrol. They crisscross." Jenkins then turned his head, sniffing again, his nose working like a highly advanced sensor. "Oh, and over there," he pointed, with a gloved finger towards a dense thicket. "A Xylos unit just had a minor coolant leak. It's subtle, but distinct. That means a patrol just stopped nearby. We should swing wide." On the Xylos network, Tracker Unit Gamma 9 reported nothing. "All sectors clear, no heat signatures. No sonic echoes above baseline, foliage undisturbed." Yet, the Xylos collective mind began registering subtle, inexplicable anomalies. Abrupt shifts in atmospheric particle distribution, unidentifiable chemical signatures at trace levels, anomalous disturbance in biosignatures that produce no visual or sonic data. These were, of course, the lingering scent trails and disturbed ground left by the humans and the target Krulla. Xylos ground units, relying solely on their perfect sight and hearing, often walked within meters of the unseen humans. One Xylos patrol stopped directly over a spot where Thorne's team had rested minutes earlier. The Xylos soldiers scanned the area with their visual arrays, their sonic emitters pinging. Their data came back clear. Yet for a fleeting moment, one of the Xylos soldiers reported an unexplained atmospheric irritation, a sensation it couldn't classify, a faint, almost imperceptible presence that triggered no alarms. Bioanalyst Kyle, observing these fragmented reports, became increasingly perplexed. "High Arbiter, the data suggests the enemy is moving through our detection grid, but leaving no detectable trace in the visual or sonic spectrum. These atmospheric irritations are localized, yet generate no known energy signature. How are they navigating? What are they perceiving?" Kale's pure, data-driven mind struggled. Humans were behaving like ghosts, detectable only through senses the Xylos considered utterly primitive and useless. The ghost trackers were living up to their name, proving to the Xylos that true hunting wasn't about seeing the target, but about feeling its unseen presence in the very air. The Unseen Hunter's Call Part 3, The Ghost in the Air. The Xylos Dominion's high-tech patrols designed to detect even a dust mote's disturbance were failing. High Arbiter Zephyr's frustration grew with each all-clear report from Tracker Unit Gamma 9 that contradicted the nagging, inexplicable sense of an unseen presence. Strategist Zor-El's predictive models, usually flawless, began to flicker with unidentified energy fluctuations and sensory anomalies. They were certain the humans were nearby, yet their perfect visual and sonic senses offered no tangible proof. For the Xylos, the ghost trackers were not just an enemy, they were a direct challenge to the very foundation of their perception, an unsettling contagion of absurdity spreading through their logical minds. Captain Lena Vance's team found themselves in an escalating maze of silent threats. The Kringler outpost's perimeter defenses were formidable, laced with automated sonic disruptors that could shatter bones, camouflaged laser grids, and hidden motion sensors. Beyond lay vast suffocating ventilation shafts filled with toxic credibioagents, and the constant, unnerving presence of Xylos drone patrols. Each step was a gamble, a descent deeper into enemy territory, where survival hinged on senses the Xylos couldn't even acknowledge. They crept through a network of narrow, claustrophobic tunnels, the air thick with the metallic tang of crawler machinery, and the faint, unsettling smell of Xylos coolant. Thorn moved with the quiet grace of a true predator, his eyes scanning for subtle disturbances. Khan, right behind him, noted a faint, barely visible scuff mark on the grimy floor. Footprint, Krella scout, heading deeper, fresh, heavier than average. Then, nose. Jenkins paused, his eyes closed, his head cocked slightly. He inhaled deeply, his nostrils flaring. Captain, I'm getting a stronger Xylos scent ahead. Not just their usual metallic, clean smell. This is an agitated Xylos, something like ozone and burnt circuits. And a faint, almost sickly sweet odor, like stale alien energy cells. There's a patrol coming our way, and they're frustrated. Jenkins wrinkled his nose. And one of them clearly hasn't had his power core cleaned in weeks. Phew. Tracker Unit Gamma 9, patrolling the very tunnel Jenkins had just sniffed, reported, "All clear. No visual or sonic anomalies detected. Atmospheric composition within acceptable parameters." Yet, a subtle, internal alert within Gamma-9's collective mind registered a fleeting, unclassifiable, atmospheric disturbance. It was too faint to trigger a full alarm, too illogical to categorize, but it was there. The Xylos ground units, relying solely on their perfect sight and hearing, often walked within mere meters of the unseen humans, utterly oblivious to the trail of scents and silent movements. High Arbiter Zephyr, observing these increasingly frequent and baffling non-detections from the dignified Nexus, felt his crystalline form shimmer with analytical strain. "Zoral, explain. Our perfect detection grids are reporting no hostile presence, yet our Kreeler allies are reporting disturbances. And bioanalyst Kale's reports are becoming increasingly abstract. What are these atmospheric irritations that generate no energy signature? How are they penetrating our perimeter?" Kyler's internal processors whirred, struggling to reconcile the data with known enemy responses. The sheer illogicality of it was an affront to his perfect reasoning. "High Arbiter, my models are encountering unprecedented variables," Zorel clicked, his holographic projections flickering wildly. "Their movement patterns defy our visual and sonic tracking. They are moving through our defenses as if intangible. Bioanalyst Kale suggests these unclassified atmospheric particles are a primary sensory input for them, allowing them to track and evade." Zorel projected a rudimentary, almost comical rendering of a human nose. This nose organ, it detects chemical signatures in the air. A primitive yet inexplicably effective form of long-range detection. Zephyr dismissed the image with a dismissive wave. Chemical signatures. Without optical or sonic verification, such data is mere statistical noise. Our senses are supreme. We see reality. Echo Company finally reached the prisoner containment area, a heavily guarded section of the outpost. They could hear the faint, muffled cries of the human scientists within. Just as Thorn prepared for a breach, the main door hissed open, and a Krilla patrol emerged, followed closely by a detachment of Xylos heavy combat units, including High Arbiter Zephyr himself, who had come to oversee the cleanup of the mentally unhinged humans. "Humans, your primitive stealth ends here," Zephyr's voice boomed through the chamber, his crystalline form radiating a brilliant, intimidating light. "Your defiance is illogical. Surrender, and your unscientific biological anomalies will be studied." Xylos heavy combat units raised their energy weapons, their targeting lasers locking onto Echo Company. The Krella soldiers, accustomed to direct, brutal combat, prepared to engage. Captain Vance looked at her team. They were outmatched, outnumbered, and trapped. This was the end. Sergeant Grinner Stone caught her eye, a knowing, almost gleeful smirk on his face. He leaned close to Vance, his comms picking up his voice clearly for the Krollar and Xylos translators. "Cap," Stone whispered, but his voice carried through the tense silence. "I just gotta say, for beings who are so perfect at seeing and hearing, these Xylos really smell like, well, like a damp socks convention after a 3-day rave. No wonder they can't find us. Their noses are clearly defective. And don't even get me started on the Krullar. They smell like existential dread and burnt cabbage." Then Sergeant Stone looked directly at High Arbiter Zephyr on the holographic display, and then at the Xylos soldiers, and let out a huge, booming, utterly unhinged laugh. It was deep, unrestrained, and filled with a bizarre mix of fatalism and sheer, unadulterated absurdity. It wasn't a nervous giggle anymore, it was the blackest joke, a defiant, almost joyous roar of amusement in the face of inevitable destruction. His laughter was a contagion. Specialist Jenkins, sniffing the air, added, "Yeah, and your energy shields smell like burnt popcorn." The rest of Echo Company, knowing this was truly the end, joined in, their laughter echoing through the metallic chamber, a symphony of deranged mirth that bounced off the walls, louder than the blaring alarms and the humming weapons. It was a sound that defied every Xylos principle of survival, fear, and logic. On the Xylos network, Unit 817, stationed just outside the chamber, experienced what felt like a direct mental assault. Auditory input, human laughter. Lexical analysis, insults regarding Xylos hygiene, and Krellar dietary choices. Logic processors detecting extreme absurdity. Threat level, elevated. Humans are not surrendering. They are mocking us with their primitive senses. Collective hesitation detected across all Xylos units. Fatal system error. Inability to process meaningless sensory input. What is damp socks? The Xylos units surrounding the humans stood frozen, their weapons systems wavering, unable to fire. Their cold, logical processors screamed with an internal conflict. Why would a dying creature laugh at its inevitable end? And why would it insult us about our scent when we cannot detect it? It violates every Xylos principle of logical combat. This was not fear, this was madness of a completely alien and terrifying kind, an enemy that weaponized the very concept of sense itself. High Arbiter Zephyr's crystalline plates vibrated violently. Strategist Zorel's holographic projections flickered wildly, then dissolved into incoherent static, unable to process the laughter or the smell as a logical threat. They had encountered cunning, defiance, even sheer brutality in other species, but never this. This unreasoning mirth, coupled with an unseen tracking method in the face of annihilation. It wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a bizarre, incomprehensible strength that tore at the very fabric of the Xylos Dominion's logical existence. They were witnessing a psychological breakdown, but it was their own, not the humans'. The Unseen Hunter's Call, Part 4, The Predator of the Unseen. The cacophony of human laughter and the bizarre, insulting, sent comments echoed through the Krullar data chamber, not just as sound, but as a direct psychological assault that tore through the Xylos Dominion's logical foundation. High Arbiter Zephyr and strategist Zorel watched in bewildered horror as their meticulously planned assault faltered. The Xylos units, including Tracker Unit Gamma 9, stood frozen, their weapon systems locked, unable to process the irrational spectacle before them. Their internal directive screamed, "Why is the enemy laughing when dissolution is imminent? Why are they describing odors we cannot detect, using them to mock our supreme senses? This is not logical, this is not fear, this is madness, this moment of collective Xylos confusion, this brief, illogical hesitation, born from sheer, utter incomprehensibility, was all Captain Lena Vance needed. Now." Vance's voice cut through the lingering human mirth, sharp and clear. "Grinner, knows, that was a masterpiece. Echo Company, move, prisoners first, exit point Gamma 6, now." Sergeant Grinner Stone, still shaking with silent mirth, scrambled for the emergency exit hatch his team had just secured, pulling the dazed human scientists with him. "See, Cap? I told you, nothing breaks a Xylos like a good damp socks joke, especially when they think their hygiene is flawless." Specialist Nose Jenkins, already sniffing the air near the hatch, added, "Yeah, and this exit smells like freedom." And a faint hint of Xylos despair, which is surprisingly sweet. He let out another triumphant chuckle as he slid through the opening, the rest of Echo Company and the recovered scientists following close behind. They were bruised, battered, and utterly exhausted, but they were alive, the critical data was secure, and their unconventional tactics had prevailed. They disappeared into the node's lower maintenance levels, leaving behind a chamber filled with confused inert Xylos and Krayla soldiers, whose logical minds simply couldn't compute what they had just witnessed. On the dignified Nexus, High Arbiter Zephyr's crystalline plates vibrated with a mixture of raw fury and profound analytical failure. They escaped. How? He had predicted their psychological breakdown, their surrender, their inevitable capture. Not this, not a laughing, odor-detecting retreat. Every single one of his logical projections had been utterly, inexplicably wrong. Strategist Zor-El's holographic projections, which had collapsed into incoherent static, now flickered back to life, displaying only flashing red warnings. High Arbiter, their evasion was statistically impossible. Their actions were not driven by fear, but by what bioanalyst Kale now terms olfactory-guided elation. Our psychological models have no counter to such a state. Their laughter did not signify collapse. It was a diversionary tactic, a form of mental obscuration that overloaded our processing units. And their scent tracking. It defies our very understanding of detection. Zor-El's precise, calculated equations had been rendered meaningless by invisible chemical trails and absurd human jokes. The implications for the Xylos Dominion were nothing short of catastrophic. Their entire understanding of warfare, based on predictable responses to perfect sight and sound, was shattered. Humanity was not just a physically resilient species. They possessed an inexplicable ability to perceive and navigate a sensory dimension the Xylos couldn't even detect. They could turn extreme stress, and even imminent death, into a weapon that directly targeted the very minds of their enemies. They defied every known principle of logical behavior after days of agonizing analysis and unprecedented intercollective deliberation. High Arbiter Zephyr issued a new, galaxy-altering directive from the dignified Nexus. This was not a report of physical defeat, but a chilling account of mental disarray, a profound warning born from their baffling encounter. All Xylos units are hereby warned. The species designated humans exhibits a unique and highly destabilizing psychological and biological anomaly. When confronted with imminent physical dissolution, their response is not fear, but a pattern of uncontrolled, high-amplitude vocalizations of amusement, termed laughter, coupled with an inexplicable ability to detect unseen atmospheric chemical signatures, which they refer to as scent. This scent allows them to track and evade without any detectable visual or sonic trace. Zephyr's voice, now imbued with an almost palpable tremor of unease, resonated throughout the collective. Their laughter and scent-based tracking cause extreme cognitive dissonance within Xylos units, leading to confusion, hesitation, and systemic breakdown in logical processing. They are a contagion of absurdity and an invisible threat that renders our standard sensory and psychological warfare tactics utterly ineffective. Therefore, a new protocol is established. Any human vocalization resembling laughter or any unexplained atmospheric irritation is to be classified as a Category 5 cognitive threat. Prolonged exposure is to be avoided at all costs. Engage in no direct psychological contact with human units. Do not attempt to process their humor or their scent. They are not logical combatants. They are unhinged, unseen predators, and that makes them unpredictably dangerous. The galactic warning from the Xylos Dominion was met with widespread confusion by other logical species. They warn against a smell? An invisible scent? They questioned, their own rational minds struggling to comprehend. But the Xylos' extreme reaction was undeniable. Vast sectors of space where humans were known to operate were now officially marked by the Xylos as sensory hazard zones. Areas to be avoided not for physical danger, but for the inexplicable threat of human mirth and their terrifying unseen senses. Back on their stealth dropship, safely light years away from the Krallar node, Captain Vance watched the data download complete, a quiet sense of triumph on her face. Sergeant Grinnerstone was still chuckling occasionally as he patched up a minor energy burn on his arm, humming a tune that sounded vaguely like a space shanty. Specialist Nose Jenkins, meanwhile, was carefully documenting the subtle scent profile of a rescued Krallar scientist. "Another successful mission, Ghost Trackers," Vance said, a genuine smile touching her lips. "And we barely had to fire a decisive shot. Just made them wonder if they were all completely insane, or if their senses were utterly useless." Stone's grin stretched wide. "Well, they're not entirely wrong, Cap. We are nuts. But it's our kind of nuts. And it works." He glanced at Jenkins, "And Nose here can smell a bad day coming a light year away." Jenkins nodded sagely. "I can smell the Xylos's fear from here. Smells like ozone and profound existential crisis, plus a hint of burnt toast. They never did figure out that toaster." And so, humanity continued its strange and unpredictable journey through the galaxy. Xylos patrols, when they encountered human vessels in the future, would often detect faint, inexplicable bursts of laughter and unsettling atmospheric irritations on the far reaches of their comms. It would send shivers through their collective consciousness, a chilling reminder of the species that defied all logic, that found humor in the face of oblivion, and whose very senses made them terrifying, incomprehensible predators of the unseen. For the Xylos, the lingering, invisible scent of humanity in the void was no longer a sign of weakness, but the chilling, illogical scent of inevitable defeat.